unilateral military action in north-east Syria. No one is fooled by the so-called ceasefire. Turkey needs to end its military action permanently, withdraw its forces and respect international humanitarian law. Any other course means unacceptable human suffering, a victory for Daesh, and a serious threat to European security. The European Council also reconfirmed its full solidarity with Cyprus, faced with Turkey's illegal drillings off its coast. When it comes to Brexit, the European Council endorsed the deal reached by our negotiator and Prime Minister Johnson's government. As you know, it is based on the deal that we agreed with the previous government. The changes concern the Protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland, formerly known as the backstop. Prime Minister Johnson's acceptance to have customs checks at the points of entry into Northern Ireland will allow us to avoid border checks between Ireland and Northern Ireland and will ensure the integrity of the single market. The revised deal was possible and acceptable to the EU because, firstly, it had the support of Ireland, secondly, it had the support of the European Commission, ensuring that all our negotiating objectives were met, and thirdly, because it avoids a chaotic no-deal Brexit. On the Council side, we have just finalised the necessary steps for the EU's approval, and the legal texts are now with you. The European Parliament has a role to play, and it is an important one. The situation is quite complex following events over the weekend in the UK and the British request for an extension of the Article 50 process. I am consulting the leaders on how to react and will decide in the coming days. It is obvious that the result of these consultations will very much depend on what the British Parliament decides or doesn't decide. We should be ready for every scenario. But one thing must be clear. As I said to Prime Minister Johnson on Saturday, a no-deal Brexit will never be our decision. Finally, the leaders held a difficult debate on enlargement. Following the clear recommendation by the Commission, an overwhelming majority of Member States wanted to open accession talks with North Macedonia and Albania. Despite this, the required unanimity was not possible last week. In my opinion, this was a mistake, which I have said to the leaders, and I was a bit more direct then. Now I can only hope that the leaders draw the right conclusions when they discuss the accession process before the Zagreb summit in May 2020. Together with President-elect von der Leyen, the leaders also discussed the future of the European Union in terms of its strategic agenda, the future EU budget and the incoming Commission's priorities. We are determined that the EU leads the way in fighting the climate crisis. A socially just transition to a green economy is not only a necessity, but it is an opportunity to improve our environment while creating jobs. As this is my last appearance here with Jean-Claude Juncker, I would like to express my greatest appreciation for him and his work. These were difficult 5 years for the Union, but we have always cooperated in good faith. Our respective roles and different perspectives sometimes meant political disagreements, but I can say without hesitation that Jean-Claude has always been devoted to Europe and served Europe well. And I am honoured to call you my friend. Thank you, Jean-Claude. I also want to thank the European Parliament for 5 years of good cooperation. It doesn't mean that we have always agreed. Quite the contrary. But I have always respected you, knowing that we share the same goal, to protect our Union and our people. Thank you very much.
Grazie Presidente Tusk. E adesso la parola al Presidente della Commissione.
And I'll now give the floor to the President of the Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker.
Prego, Presidente.
President.
Mille grazie, Signor Presidente, Mr. President of the European Council, dear colleagues. It was an emotional moment for me last week when I attended my last European Council together with my good friend Donald. We are today debating the 147th European Council of my political career. 147 or 148, I don't know exactly. And it is today the 105th time that I speak to you in this plenary, the beating heart of European democracy. In many of these 105 debates, I had to discuss the UK's departure from the European Union with you. In truth, it has pained me to spend so much of this mandate dealing with Brexit, when I have thought of nothing less than how this union could do better for its citizens. Waste of time and waste of energy. The Commission has worked tirelessly to negotiate and renegotiate an agreement with the United Kingdom, to respect the UK's decision to leave the European Union. We now have a new agreement, which again creates the legal certainty for an orderly withdrawal of the UK from the European Union. It took a huge amount of work to arrive at this point. I listened to Prime Minister Johnson in the same way as I listened to Prime Minister May. Our negotiators, mainly Michel Barnier, have once again worked around the clock, and once again they have shown creativity and determination. The agreement we reached with the United Kingdom's government addresses this Parliament's demands, all the Parliament's demands. I will always regret the United Kingdom's decision to leave the Union, but at least we can look ourselves in the eye and say that we have done all in our power to make sure that this departure is orderly. And in this same spirit, we have done everything in our power to prepare the European Union for all eventualities, irrespective of what is happening on the other side of the Channel. We need now to watch events in Westminster very closely. But it's not possible, not imaginable, that this Parliament would ratify the agreement before Westminster will have ratified the agreement. First London, then Brussels and Strasbourg. Wir haben uns, Herr Präsident, auch ausführlich mit dem finanziellen
We have been dealing with the financial framework for the next 7 years in great detail alongside the European Council. And I would like it to be minuted that my view is that time is of the essence. Time is running out if we're going to reach agreement in Council and later elsewhere. If we lose any more time, then we will get into financial difficulties in the first 2 years of the financial framework. The important thing, however, is that Member States and other actors be aware of what the financial framework for the next 7 years is. Young Erasmus students, researchers, and many others do need to know this. And it is important for the success of the European project to get to grips with this, and we mustn't let it fail because we cannot reach agreement. The budget volume proposed by the European Commission, I have to say, is a minimum. It's a minimum. And the proposals that are currently on the table, the most recent proposals by the Finnish presidency, are not acceptable. You cannot shape Europe with 1% of GDP. In French, we are going to be talking about enlargement, Mr. President, and I am very disappointed by the decision, or lack thereof, by the European Council. North Macedonia and Albania had a right for the negotiations with these countries to be started, and it was a huge mistake not to have opened the negotiations with these two countries. It's a grave error because it affects two countries in their hearts, and it does create the impression that when you make promises you don't keep them, and nobody will respect us throughout the world if we do that.
Grazie Presidente Juncker. Adesso ascoltiamo I Presidenti dei gruppi politici. Onorevole Weber, lei la parola.
Group heads, Mr. Weber first.
Ich möchte zunächst mich bei Donald Tusk bedanken
President, can I begin by thanking Donald Tusk for his 5 years of work for this common house of Europe. He kept the European Council together. He held the ring in difficult times. And as you said, we all stand for the same idea. And in this House it's perhaps easier to defend that common line than in your body at your level in European Council. So thanks for your work on behalf of the entire EPP group. Colleagues, the last European Council on Turkey did not take the decision we wanted. The invasion against international law in Syria. Kurds were our partners in the fight against Islamic terror. More than 11,000 Kurds laid down their lives. ISIS fighters are in the camps. It's not clear whether they're going to be released, and it's a pity that the Council could not take more robust measures because we had the illegal occupation of Cyprus, restriction of press freedoms, threats against migrants, the invasion of Syria with the illegal invasion. And where's the clear signal from Europe? Where's the clear signal we are sending out of condemnation? We have our discussions, and in Council we talk about our dismay, but dismay